Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we're here today for the Friday conversation, episode 53 or 54. I can't remember. Something over 50. I forget what it is. So we'll start off with some
Five
introductions. Yeah,
million.
5 million. Yeah, that would be pretty impressive. Yeah. Sadir, did you want to kick us off with an introduction, please?
Sure thing. My name is Sadir Samir. I am the author of this book, The Crew. It's about these crazy individuals on the cover doing weird stuff in an Arab inspired fantasy setting. And yeah, that's about it.
Nice. And Joao?
Yeah, I'm Joao F. Silva. I'm the upcoming author of the Seeds of War, which is the first book in the Smokesmiths series that I'm debuting at some point in early 2023.
Nice. Congrats.
Cool.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes. And Chris?
Yeah, my name's Chris Mohan, occasional booktuber, and here on Friday Night Conversations whenever Steve will have me, which thankfully is quite often. And lovely to meet a lot of these people for the first time, especially because a lot of you have been in the comments for a lot of weeks and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And Dyrk?
Oh, I am Dyrk Ashton, author of the Paternus trilogy and Knucklehead. And that's book one.
Yeah. We were talking before about because I've been trying to capture you to come on, and things just keep not working out. So I was a little nervous to invite you this time because I don't want to like jinx you or anything. So I was like, I don't.
No, you didn't want me to blow you off like a third time. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, that
Sorry
too,
about
yeah.
that.
But
I didn't. It was all by accident.
No, I'm glad you're able to make it. I'm glad everything is calm today. So
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So Joao, how's the book coming along? What are the updates? How are things going for you?
It's going really well. I've just gotten some feedback from my editor actually, and she's giving me very positive feedback, and I hope that by the end of this week the edit is going to be complete, like 100% complete, and so that I can start thinking about things like the advanced reader copies and start developing just a strategy in terms of what I'm going to do with it from now on. I mean, I already have some things lined up, some more giveaways and things like that. But in general, I think the hardest part has already been back, and I've already been kind of trying to get started on the second book. I've already finished the first draft, so I'm pretty much in line with the schedule that I had set for myself. So hopefully I won't have any things that stop it. Basically, yeah, no, it's going pretty well. Yeah.
Good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What's it like being so close to the release day or to major milestones coming up?
It's to be honest, it's very, 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 very exciting. I've been sitting on this book for quite a while. I'm one of those people who tried to get to the query trenches and unsuccessfully in my case. And I just decided self-publishing was probably the best thing I could do in the face of all the rejections or the lack of interest that I was getting from traditional publishing. But I've also found the indie community just so friendly and so engaging and so helpful in pretty much every possible way. And I started talking to people and just talking with not just other writers but also reviewers and booktubers and things like that. And everybody was so encouraging, and I was like, well, maybe this is actually the right route for me. And I think that's probably the right decision. And yeah, it's quite interesting, and it's I just can't wait to get it out in the world, and I can have finally people reading it out and telling me what they think, because I first started writing this back in when the lockdowns were just starting in early 2020. So it's been quite a while, and a lot has happened in my life since then. So it's quite interesting to finally have it out in the world.
That's awesome. No, we've got you fooled. It's all a con. All any advice. I mean, you should see the fucked up shit I told Sadir to do. It's hilarious. We're all just sitting back.
That is.
I mean,
not
I would love to hear what kind of fucked up stuff you told me.
It's not true. It's not true. It's exactly like you say. It's like it's the most supportive community that you can find. It's I'm so happy that I went this route. The best decision of 2023, easily.
And you did query a little bit.
I did query a little bit. Yeah, I had a couple of full requests and a couple like I had some good progress, but like in the end, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a traditionally published author, and he was like, you know that even if you get an agent like in 4 months, you're not going to see your book if they manage to sell it in like 2 years. And something about that just hit me. I'm like, I'm not going to just sit on this book for like 2 years because I'm proud of this book. I've done the work. I'm ready to share it with the world. I've known people like Dyrk and Rob J. Hayes and Michael R. Fletcher and a bunch of other indie authors for like 6 or 7 years. And they're all doing great. They're all happy with the choices they have made. So I was like, fuck it. It's time to just like,
Go for it.
Go for it. Exactly. And I wouldn't, yeah. I'm so happy with the decision. I couldn't.
Well, you've got a unique background too. I mean, you're younger than me by a lot, but
I'm 14 years old.
Yeah, but you've got you've got production chops in video games and writing chops in video games, and you've been doing that kind of stuff professionally for some years. So the and I had a film production background, producing background, and production managing. So all the little pieces that have to be pulled in and put together and done in a certain line might have been a little more natural for us. But I can see how self-publishing can be really daunting for somebody who's just going into it, Joao.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you're finding. What is your background?
So actually, I write as well for my day job. It's not fiction writing, but it's more like nonfiction and research and things like that about renewable energy. So I still write pretty much on a daily basis, and I think it has helped me quite a lot, just kind of developing my writing chops as well. Even though the vocabulary is quite different, it's very technical, but it's still, I think it's still quite an interesting experience, to have. But the thing that in terms of the self-publishing route, the thing that's more daunting for me is on the marketing side, and like everything that needs to be done, cover editing, like it's basically becoming a project manager for yourself and running your own company and being a writer at the same time. And it's chaotic.
That would be my question to all of us, especially those of you that have worked in like entertainment production lines beforehand, when obviously you were a cog in the wheel, to now be the entire wheel. As your appreciation for the other parts and the other things that happened just went up, I would imagine, by a lot.
That's a really good way to put it. I never heard that one. That's a good one.
Absolutely. Like as Dyrk sure has the same experience as me. Like there's so many hoops you have to jump through to get stuff made. So many people boards of executives, just having opinions, and they read an article saying that VR is the new thing, and then they come into the studio and they're like, we should make a VR game, just because someone read something, you know what I mean? And like, so it's extremely liberating to just be able to have a vision and go for it. And it's crazy good.
And the response has been good. Your book has been out since when now?
A little bit more than 2 weeks.
Yeah. And
so I'm very much still a baby.
The reviews I'm seeing are really, really positive.
Well, thank you.
It seems to be doing really well so far.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is a crazy, fucked up book in the best way possible. I'm sitting here laughing just thinking about all the goofy shit that goes on in that book. It's so much fun. A really nice departure from typical fantasy. It's a real nice thing to read that's different and fresh and kind of new, even in the way he writes the prose and the dialogue, which is much more contemporary, which you don't see in fantasy. And people will bounce, I'm sure, and will freak out about that, but fuck them. They're not who you wrote it for, So Sadir wrote the book that he wanted to write, and when I was reading an advanced or beta reading, I could see him in every page, in every line, because I've known him for 6 years, and it's just the sense of humor that comes out, and just the crazy shit that comes out of those people's mouths, and they get themselves into. It's just nuts.
You're making me blush over here, man.
You should
Yeah.
be blushing.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful debut, honestly.
You are too kind. You are too kind.
No,
Thank you.
just being honest for once.
The last 6 years, all lies. Tonight, being honest.
Yeah. No, but it makes me so happy to hear you say that you can see me on the page, because that was one of the defining things that made me think that I had something here, because I had a couple of beta readers. So I wrote another novel before this one that wasn't very good. I thought that I was going to publish that book and stuff, but like it didn't have my voice, and it was very generic.
No.
It had some elements of my weirdness in it. One of the main POV characters was a frogman, a drunken frogman with a tragic background.
He would fit right in the crew.
Yeah, he would. And so I got a positive response to that character. People were like, this is weird. More of this. So when I wrote the second book, or The Crew, I had no plan going in, no outline, nothing. I just sat down and I started writing, and the weirdness just came out on the page. So I sent a couple of early chapters over to some friends, and they all said the same thing. Like, if they know me well and know my sense of humor and stuff, they were like, yeah, this is you. Like, you somehow managed to capture that. And that's not going to be for everyone, obviously. I think it's very much going to be a hate it or love it kind of situation based on the reviews that I'm getting. I've gotten a couple of 1 stars calling it like crude and childish, which it is.
So now you're a real author.
I mean, it's fair to say that.
To a certain extent.
Yeah.
You're a real author now that you got those.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I kept telling him.
Yeah, Dyrk was waiting. Dyrk was waiting for it.
You're not a real author until you get a really nasty review, 1-star review.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that nasty because it is true. I would also like, it is crude and it is childish, but like I market it as Deadpool meets Kings of the Wild, right? So I don't even know why the guy read the book, to be honest with you. But I mean,
Yeah, I've gotten the same thing. Just kind of like, why did they even start this, let alone finish it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people like to hate read. Hate reading is a real thing.
Thank you, HC. Sorry. Yeah.
Say hate reading is a real thing.
Yeah. They're not dolls, they're action figures, HC. God damn it.
They've got poses and everything, indeed.
I like all your dolls.
Yeah.
We're watching, for those of you who might not know, we're watching. Can they see these going across in the actual?
Yeah, they can.
Oh, they can. Oh,
on the audio, they won't. So, but
okay.
AC Newell commented, "Sadir, I like all of your dolls."
First said, "I like your dolls." Now it's, "I like all your dolls."
Okay. Yeah.
And our friend Halo's here. Hey, Halo.
Hello.
Yeah, I saw me here pop up earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm me here.
Yeah.
I always try to corral me here too. He's hard to corral. He's hard to get.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to constantly be watching it now.
Oh, jelly beans.
And Red
Red
Rising. Oh,
yeah. We just we had a long conversation about Red Rising last week, and HC gave in and decided to read it. Sounds like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I really actually almost quit that book in the first few chapters.
Oh,
I
really?
thought the style was harsh, and I really didn't like the main
Hmm.
character, or anybody else. But then they got to the cutters. You
Mm.
guys know what that means, and
Yeah, I've read
and it was just like boom, 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 all the way through the whole rest of the trilogy.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first few chapters are quite different from the rest of the series, actually.
Yeah.
Aaron commented, "Wouldn't expect anything less. Halo. P.S. You should start asking for a cut of from Pierce Brown for such a great sales pitch." Sold me on it. I wasn't going to read it. Now I am.
I think you guys mentioned it like 6 or 7 times last Friday.
Maybe it might have been 9 or 10.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about Joao's book. What is it? Why'd you write it? How long did it take?
That's a lot of questions. I'm just gonna pick one of them, which is
What
the
kind of
easiest one to
underwear
answer.
are you wearing?
Yeah. That one I'm just gonna
Ignore
not
him.
mention. No, but it's it's basically, I think I would pitch it as adult epic fantasy. That's kind of the general blanket term, I would say. I think the tone is a bit more leaning towards grimdark, but I don't really like I don't really like the term that much. I mean, I use it sometimes, but it's not my preferred term to use. But yeah, I mean, the characters are a bit flawed, and I wouldn't say they're very nice people. Like, I wouldn't want to be friends with them. And I think I wrote the story because kind of had to. It's like one of those stories that you just have it in you, and you need to get it out. There's some things about things that you want to like process from your personal life and things like that, and things that you want to have more control over that you can't control in your real life and things like that. So I think that's kind of where it came from. I actually had some ideas after reading the Ash and Sand trilogy by Richard Nell. So that's kind of that was actually that series was in my head quite a lot when I was writing this book. I'm not saying it's a massive influence or anything like that, but it is an influence to a certain degree in terms of the scope and the kind of the ambition, I would say. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah.
So instead of grim dark, it's more like grim dim or grim shady.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know who comes up with all these variations. Like, I've heard
I just
about
made
Noble
those
Bright.
up.
Yeah, he just made
Me.
that one. No, yeah, you just made that up.
Well,
on the
somebody
spot.
else.
Because I've heard about things like Noble Bright and like Grim, all these variations.
Well,
that I just don't understand.
even like Mark Lawrence, Michael R. Fletcher, some of the first people that really got called grimdark. Joe Abercrombie has said, they've all said we'd never heard of anything called grimdark. We just thought we were writing a fantasy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure George R. R. Martin would probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
So, and they're like the big names we hear thrown around as far as like quintessential grimdark.
Yeah, the term originally comes from Warhammer 40,000. That's
Does it?
Yeah, that's where it originates from. Like
You would know that.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. You can see my room. I know a bunch of stuff. So I think it's like in the grim dark future or something. It's like the opening line to introduce the setting of Warhammer 40,000, and it's extremely over the top. And yeah. I don't think, and you guys can correct me, but like I don't think that authors are as focused on subgenres and stuff as readers and reviewers and the public are, because like we write stories and you have like the broad category, like we all write fantasy in this group, but then it makes it easier for readers to find books that suit their preference based on subgenres. But like you said, Joe Abercrombie, he has never like admitted or said that he thought he was writing a grim dark book or anything like that. He was just thinking, I'm writing fantasy my way. and so yeah, I don't think we'll ever have a clear definition of grimdark or noble bright or whatever they're called. I think
No,
I think we can discuss that like
there
forever.
just isn't. There isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't.
And it was
There really
actually
isn't.
like that for me as well. Like I think I thought I was just writing epic fantasy, and I still think I am. But then when I started sending the book out to beta readers and my critique partners and things like that, and they're like, "Oh, this is a bit dark, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Is it?" Because most of the books that I read tend to kind of just be a bit darker, and I thought I was much less darker than them.
Yeah.
So, but apparently,
Yeah.
apparently not. So
I mean, it can definitely help you as an author in how you market your book. Like for instance, if someone asks me about my book, I wouldn't say it's epic fantasy because it doesn't really fit into that category. You don't have multiple POVs in that sense. It's not like a global thing, characters in different places and all of that. Like this is more, I would say, and Dyrk, I don't know if you agree or not, but like more towards sword and sorcery in terms of the pacing and the action and like more pulp.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree about that?
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's wacky fantasy comedy.
Yeah.
But it isn't. I mean, it has plenty of. It's not just all goofy comedy. It has some intense shit going on in there too. And some pretty scary stuff and a lot of great action. With some scary. I mean, even dough golems can be pretty creepy.
Yeah.
and weird touchy-feely necromancers can do some really creepy stuff.
you guys are selling it really well, I have to say.
Well, I want to know, what is your because you're going to have to work on this, so you might as well do it right now in front of thousands of people.
Thousands, yes.
What is your hook? Because Sadir wanted to work on his for a while, so you can get a pretty good idea about what his is when he says Deadpool meets Kings of the Wild. That's one way to do it, but it's also an ensemble of wacky misfit fighters that are trying to save this kingdom in a kind of a Middle Eastern setting. So how would you sell that to us? And I hate it when people ask me that question.
Yeah, you're brutal, man. You're being brutal.
Still
I mean,
terrible about it.
For me, I think the part of the reason why I might have not done so well in querying must have been because of my lack of ability to distill the book into like 2 or 3 words or like a minimal sentence. I mean, I would say like the hook is kind of like the concept for the characters. So I would say like so you have 3 main viewpoint characters, and one of them is a single mother and war veteran who is now a crime boss. And you have
I'm
the
already
second one.
interested.
There you go.
Yeah, and you have the second one who's a petty thief that is turning into a con man who's running a very long con, pretending that he's God, essentially.
Okay.
And the third character is a very old and jaded mercenary who's promised to retire, but he still has one job left to do. So those are the 3 main point of view characters, and then they will have their own storylines, and the storylines will intersect at a certain stage. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Like again, like
No,
this
that's
took way
good.
too long to explain.
No,
So
that's
I
good.
should have explained
That's
it into
the
like a
kind of
sentence
stuff
or two.
I would
but-
expect to see in the description on Amazon.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
I mean,
I'm already intrigued.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing about having like a comparative title or titles is just to give a sense. It's not. I mean, my book isn't Deadpool, right? But like, I'm trying to grab onto something that will give people a sense of the humor, right? Because it's definitely not Terry Pratchett. If you go in expecting it's like Terry Pratchett, you're gonna be fucking disappointed. So Deadpool is the closest thing that I could find.
Yeah.
And Kings
And it's
of the
excellent. Really.
Yeah, thanks. And Kings of the Wild was probably the first modern fantasy book that I read in recent years that had a lot of comedy elements in it. And it was a huge success. And that kind of opened the door for me, thinking that maybe people will like. Maybe there's a place for this out there.
And Orconomics too has done
Orconomics as
extremely
well.
well, which is
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
a much funnier.
Yeah, I would probably I'd probably call Orconomics more of a satire. Would you?
Yeah.
Would you, yeah. Right.
Yeah, then a
Yeah, yeah.
comedy. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
My book is like, and Kings of the Wild has way more heart than depth than my book, in my opinion. My book is like Kings of the Wild and cocaine, maybe. You know, maybe that's more. Maybe that's more. Maybe that's more suitable.
Yeah, and a little bit and a little bit of acid.
Okay. A drug cocktail, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Kings of the Wild on acid and
On acid. Okay, yeah. All right.
Acid and crack.
I don't want crack.
Acid was fine.
Yeah, I'd rather go with acid. Crack feels
Steve,
really...
I really want you to go in and just get that little snippet, and we're gonna create a meme. Sadir just saying,
Yeah.
"I don't want crack."
Oh my god!
We're gonna
Crack
put
is
it
too
everywhere
trashy.
all over social media.
That's
Oh my
it.
god. Oh.
5 stars.
That's a hell of a blurb.
Yeah.
AC had a question for Sadir. How many Easter eggs do you have in the crew, and which were your favorites to add?
I have a lot of Easter eggs. I have no clue how many though. Probably, let's see here. A couple of people have found a couple of fun ones. I don't want to give them away though. I have one that not a lot of people have picked up on, that is an Easter egg to French Prince and Bel-Air. If you guys remember that show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 90s kid, right? So I have a lot of stuff from the 90s and 19 show. You got Seinfeld in there. You got the show Friends. Yeah. You'll see how I pull it, if I manage to pull it off or not. But like, yeah. Final Fantasy, a bunch of other video games. Yeah.
The ones I got are laugh out loud. Fun.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
I'm sure I did not get them all. I'm an 80s kid.
You're an 80s kid, yeah.
70s and 80s, actually.
Yeah, I don't think I have any 70s or 80s references in my book.
Back to the thing about genre, though, as a reader, one of the things I find really hard is when a book's been sold a certain way, and I'm like 10 chapters in, and I'm going, I don't see it yet. And like you've missed the fact that you really enjoy the characters, you really enjoy the world, but you're like, but it's not that thing. And I'm like, but it doesn't matter. You know, it's just that setup part of it of the say, oh, look, that same for if somebody calls it grimdark, you're like, yeah, I mean, sort of, yes. And you're always trying to define it because you're like, oh God, if I'm going to describe this to somebody else, it's the same problem as passing it on from the author. If I'm going to describe this to somebody else, what am I going to say about it? You know, other than say what I should say, which is it's got really good defined characters that I really enjoyed reading, that have a really nice story arc, that you know, that kind of stuff that actually really matters.
That is a problem though, if a book is missold. There have been books that I've read where they weren't at all and it happens, but I've only ever noticed this honestly with some trad pub books, that it's just not at all what the cover looks like and what they say it is. I'm like, why didn't they just sell it as what it is?
But Dyrk, don't you have kind of an interesting backstory when it comes to the Paternus trilogy? Because that felt groundbreaking in terms, like you couldn't really pin it down.
I never thought about what I was writing as I was writing it.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about urban fantasy. I just wanted to do something contemporary that takes place today in this world, with a lot of holy shit, what the fuck, what if kind of stuff in it, with gods and monsters from mythology, and tie them all together and have that kind of, you know, step up where you've got these really powerful characters and they run into one that can just trash that one, and then they run into one that can just trash all them. That kind of thing. And so in fact, this is why I'm been like I was on Sadir about this, and why I was asking you, Joao, because I didn't even put a genre in my description, and I had no this meets that in my description. And it wasn't until I put that in, and this was before the new cover came out, that I put in that it's epic urban fantasy.
Yeah.
Because that's what people kept telling me it was. And then and people might have been going, what is that? But then I put in first, I mean, the one that's been up for years is the Avengers meets American God, or American Gods meets the Avengers. And I saw an immediate difference, immediate difference in sales, because then people could see at least kind of what it was, right? So that helped a lot, which is kind of why I've been, kind of hammering that.
And that beautiful cover didn't hurt, for sure.
The new one, the one that's on it now, I really lucked out with that artist, and he's moved way beyond us now. He's doing Subterranean press special editions for Joe Abercrombie's latest trilogy.
Excellent.
Yeah,
you were the first to use him, right?
No,
Mike Fletcher.
Mike Fletcher used him on Ghosts of Tomorrow, and I actually have a picture of that cover up there, and I was like, that is amazing. Who is that guy, Mike? And he said, I'm not telling. But it turned out he was a relation of his, like married to a second cousin or something like that. Young artist right out of art school.
John
Anthony Di Giovanni.
There you have it. Yeah, that's
and
the name.
So he gave me his number, and mine was the second book cover that he ever did. And now he gets hired by trads and has been hired by trads to do covers and been doing all kinds of stuff. But he did all three of my books, and he's just so incredibly talented and super easy to work with. So he's just one of those rare finds. But the way it always works is artists get then more famous and get well known, and then they can get paid more, and more power to them. I want them to, but I can't afford them anymore. So then, or they get too busy and they're like 2 years out. And I love that. I love to see that happen. And I love to be able to say, I had him way back when he was. Yeah.
But he's also using your work for his showcase as well, Dyrk. So, even the fact that he's going around pitching himself, he's saying, here's my body of work.
Yeah.
And somebody goes, what's that book related
my
to?
Covers are on his sites. Yeah. Are
So
part of his portfolio.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
That's
awesome.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I just want to mention something because we touched upon it earlier, like how supportive the indie community is and stuff. And for me and Joao, we're the newbies, right? But like Dyrk and some other people, you guys had to do this like when we didn't have this community in place, I would say, in the same way. Like you had to figure out a lot of shit.
I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone until it started to get some legs in the SPFBO, because I entered it in the SPFBO in May of 2016, like 2 days or the day that it appeared on Amazon, because you had to have it out. And I was like in the last 2 or 3 people that got in before the 300 deadline. And it wasn't until then that I started to meet people at all. And I remember looking on Twitter, all these authors talking to each other, going, "Oh, I wish I knew somebody." It seems kind of goofy now, but it still amazes me how many people that I'm talking to. It just still thrills me, and I get a grin when I get responses from Anthony Ryan and RJ Barker and Mark Lawrence and MR Carey. It just blows me away that I can still go to conferences and see all these people that I know and talk to them online, and Anna Stevens and Anna Smith Spark, and just it goes on and on. I'm sure I'm missing a ton, But those are the trad pubs, and then but indies I know far more and better, for the most part.
But like, I just wanted to mention that because you guys laid the groundwork, like, for the next generations to come, in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many resources, so many people now that I know that I could ask that have done this before, and everybody's so incredibly helpful. So like, I can't imagine doing this. Like, I think Rob J. Hayes started in 2012 or something.
Yeah,
like,
he and like
there was no information how to do anything. at
no,
that
and
time,
David
you know what I mean?
Estes and like Phil Tucker
He
were
was
all
Bengali as well,
real
right?
early
Yeah,
on, and they were
yeah.
just like totally
Yeah.
flying by the seats of their pants. And look at them now.
Yeah. So we're incredibly lucky just to be in the time that we're in right now, releasing our books and finding joining Discord servers and the podcasts like this and stuff. Like, that wasn't even a thing, 6 or 7 years ago. So yeah,
Very, very little of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's sort of different landscape when you go. If you were trad pub, for instance, you're releasing your market or your book into a market that wants to be critical of your book. Whereas I would say the communities that we all kind of push in now just want to read more good books. I mean, that's really what's going to happen there. So that they're kind of rabid for, well, what's your book about? Would I like it? Is it like this other thing and it just kind of keeps on pushing it around. And it's not to rip them apart or kind of say, oh, this is whatever. It's very much, I need more stories. Stories are good.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the relationship between readers and indie authors, it's much closer. You know what I mean? Some traditionally published authors, like, they're not accessible at all. They have either they've chosen to do it that way, or they've gotten too big to be able to do it that way. So like, I think that's one of the coolest thing about being an indie author is the connection to the readers. It's because it really is a lovely community, and I think it's a shame some traditionally published authors don't get to feel that. They only see like their fans at conventions and stuff, but like, yeah.
And I think the closeness with the blogging community and booktubers and stuff like that also helped distill a lot of the prejudice that was around. Like, there's this idea that indie books were all like bad, and there's no way to vet the good from the bad, and and I think the community that's adjacent to the readers and writers also really helped with that. Like you guys, like YouTubers and bloggers and stuff like that, really helped put good books on the map. I mean, I think the reason I started finding indie books, and a lot of them much better than the trad books I was reading, was because I was paying attention to what people like Steve were saying on YouTube and stuff like that. So I was like, well, there's a whole world of indie books out there, and it's just a shame that the exposure is still not at the same level as the traditional publishing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on where you're looking. If you're looking at Amazon, yeah, the exposure is there. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost like the ocean of readers of fantasy on Amazon, and it's particularly in Amazon KDP, is bottomless. I mean, books, David Estes, who any trad pub reader would never have heard of, and a lot of indie readers probably never have heard of, but he has had books selling way in the high ranks. His first series, the Fate Mark series, for years and years and years, and then he'll get a book bub, and then suddenly he's got a shitload more sales and reads, and it's like, it's bottomless. There are new readers coming in, and so many that books can hang on in the indie sphere for a long time. So they can get some serious exposure to readers. They just don't in the critical circles or the mainstream media. Or even Will White, who's starting to get the attention of some people, but talk about selling a lot of books.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, he's a New York Times bestseller, right?
Yeah, he's hit number 1 on Amazon 3 times now, maybe more.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's insane.
Yeah, that is that is insane.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did have a question from Aaron. How would you sum up your sense of humor, Sadir?
Oh boy, how would I sum it up? Yeah, it's. I mean, Dyrk, help me out here, man. How do we? How do we?
I mean, it's just, I wouldn't say it's his characters. Some of them just have no filter. They have no filter. They just say what pops into their head.
Mhm.
And Sadir has a filter, but
I do.
yeah, you have a filter when you're supposed to.
Yeah.
But when it's just a bunch of buddies sitting around talking, you say some really funny shit that comes out of left field. It's not like incredibly grotesque or really bad or anything.
Yeah.
It's because it comes way out of left field and just blindsides you.
Yeah.
That's
I
and really creative.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. What I can say, it's not your tip. Like, one thing that I'm afraid of a bit when I say it's a humorous book or stuff, it's like that people would make the assumption that it's a bunch of dick jokes and like adolescent humor.
It's
I
not.
don't like that stuff. I'm not a fan of stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it's not in that direction at all. It is like it is. It's crazy. It's weird. It's crazy and weird, and you will know from the first chapter 100% if you're in or not. That much I can confidently tell you. Like, if you, yeah, definitely. You
Mhm.
will you will know what you're in for, and either
Yeah,
you're on board or you're not.
Yeah, and that's important. One of the earliest lessons that I learned that worked really well for me is that in the first chapter or two, you're basically telling them what they're going to read and teaching them how to read it
Yeah,
with your style and the tone and the prose and everything else. So
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that is the first impression that you do on a reader, right? And like everyone is limited on time these days. You want to be upfront what this is, so like you're not wasting someone's time and all of that as well. So I think it's very important for us authors to establish the tone, establish like what is this, you know what I mean, and not. I think it's better to have people bow out, earlier if it's not for them, rather than like
Mhm.
getting 200 pages in and then suddenly something happens that completely shifts. I've read some books that do that, that try to catch the reader by surprise, and it can misfire badly when you try and do it that way. So yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the tone is like one thing that it needs to be consistent pretty much from beginning to end. Like if you're promising something and then you're delivering something else, then it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
It comes back to that thing you talked about earlier on, which is the fact, and doing streams like this, when you get to know people and then you read their work and you make the direct connection. You can see exactly. I could read another book and you could not tell me who it was written by, and I would know it was that author, for instance. Very, very clearly. And even within two books, you've got that voice. And I think I put this in the post on PageTune on the forum about trad versus indie. The experience of reading something that was unfiltered, that was in your head, for instance, and this is what you wanted to write without somebody kind of taking it apart and going, well, maybe you should change that or tone that down or bring that up. You get much more fresh experiences. You get things that are very, very different than you would read necessarily in trad. And I think that's the bit that is really to be celebrated.
Yeah.
There are plenty of books that, not plenty. I mean, there are books that I will read that overall I might not like it, but I love it because they tried something different and it worked on a certain level, and that should be applauded. I mean, I'm a film guy, so indie films were what I was always looking for. I wanted to see something new and different and strange, and that's a lot of the reason that I read too. So it's really fun to read, to find things like that.
Yeah.
That's very interesting because for me, like the process of writing itself, it's like I always find myself balancing something that's going to appeal to the readers, that because it's familiar enough but not too familiar, like something that's I feel like I have to be adding something different, something new, and I think it's quite a difficult balance to get right. I think some people really bet on themselves and they go like full on new stuff, and others are a bit more conservative and just say no, this works. People like to read this, and they just kind of stick to what's already working. And I actually wanted to ask both of you, like, if it's where do you fall on that spectrum between like innovation and like sticking to something that's already working and it's already like a proven something that's just working properly for the readers?
Well, I mean, I would say Sadir's a free spirit and I'm just a dick. I wanted to write, I looked into TradPub, and at that time there was still kind of a stigma for indie. And I just decided, and friends said, yeah, they'll change all that. And poor Steve. and so, I mean, because I didn't even know if I wanted to publish these books. So I just wrote the books that I wanted to write. The way I wanted to write it, and I wanted to use first person because I like that immediacy and that urgency to first person. And you should see the reviews from people, people that don't like first person. I don't give a shit, and I wanted to do it in third person omniscient. Which meant that I use I use my camera analogy, and a camera can be way back, and then it can cut in to different characters, and it's never just a single POV unless you're like watching Halloween through the eyes of Michael walking through a kitchen with a knife, So I wanted to make it more like that in a kind of a true cinematic way. So I do what people call head hopping. And I try to be more careful with it. And I was a little more careful with it with books 2 and 3. And I won't do it in the same paragraph, but it will, without a break, jump from one character's thoughts to the next. And some people bounce fast off of that, but I wanted to do that. And these books used to be written like that all the time. It wasn't until the 70s and 80s that this tight third that I found. I still love tight third books, but I found that the vast majority of books were being written that way, and I found it really limiting, and I wanted to try something else. If this person's thinking that, I want to know how the other person's reacting to the same insane thing that's happening in front of them. And I don't want to have to put a space between those when it's only maybe 2 lines. So I just didn't. And some people bounce off that, but some people celebrate it. And I didn't know if anybody would like it. So yeah, so I just did what I wanted to do and fuck everybody. So yeah, I'm a dick. And Sadir didn't do it that way. He's just a free spirit and was just being himself and having fun.
I mean, if we're using that analogy, like I did the same thing basically. Like I just went with it, right? I mean, I don't think I don't think you are being fair to yourself because, like, clearly there is an audience for your books because they're hugely popular, and so I think that like you just didn't have to stick to those restraints that the modern publishing industry has made the standard of the limited third person point of view, right? You decided to do things your way, and clearly it worked. And you see that often in more corporate structures, like they don't really know what works, and then when it works they find it, they're like, oh, we should also do that, but they don't want to be the ones taking the risk and doing that. So that's the difference. Like when you see like innovative movies, innovative video games and stuff, like the ideas are out there, but it's depending on what structure you're in, if like the leadership are willing to take a chance on that, or if they want to try and reel it in and do something more safe, so to speak. And so I think that you wrote the book that you wanted to write, and I think that like your love for mythology and all of that stuff really came through, and that's at the core of your trilogy, right? So it makes it a very unique Dyrk Ashton book. But you know what I mean.
See, now I'm blushing.
No, but I mean that is the truth, and I think that is the key and what is so lovely about creating stories, because we're all unique individuals, right? We all have something that makes us us, right?
Mhm.
And when you can find that as a storyteller, then you can make something that feels just like it's your thing.
It's authentic.
It's authentic, yeah. Like you
yeah.
can, like, you know, like I have assassins in my book, and the plot itself is really stereotypical. Like it's about a group of people taking down this tyrannical ruler, right? There's nothing innovative about the plot itself, but the
Yeah.
way the story is told is through the twisted mind of this individual sitting right here.
Yeah. Well,
So
nothing's new.
Hmm?
Nothing is new. under
No,
the
exactly.
sun.
Nothing is new, but it's sprinkled with Sadir Samir, you know, spices. Yeah,
Yeah.
that I bring to the table.
Yes.
Yeah, if
Those
that makes
fine
sense.
Swedish Middle Eastern spices.
Yeah. I mean, look at all the chefs around the world. They always come up with new dishes, right? But they still use the basic ingredients that we're all used to, right? But they find something that they add. And that, I think, is what makes books so
A
special.
slightly different way of preparing, and
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah, but at the base,
Yeah, that's
level of it, it
Go
is
ahead.
like the same thing, right? It's
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
plot, it's the same tropes being used, but then you find ways to do it.
Well, this it is true that there is a lot of garbage in indie publishing, because anyone can publish, right? But the quality has come up and up and up and up and up and up just since I started. I mean, it's just amazing, the books that are every bit as well written and edited and proofed as anything out in trad.
Absolutely.
And I see a lot of mistakes in trad books lately, unfortunately.
Mm.
But that's the true joy of indie, like indie film, right? Is that you know, there are books like Sadir's, or especially like mine, like my buddies who are writers, who read it very, very early on in like 2014, 2015, were like, if you go trad, they won't let you do present tense, and you're not going to be able to do this third person omniscient. They're going to change all that, and then that, you know, pretty much this, and they like, but we love it the way it is, because it's different.
Yeah.
And it's so rare anymore to see you know, like a Kerouac published, you know, in trad, or some of the early really fantastic, groundbreaking authors. You just don't see it that much today.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But you do
I
see it
couldn't
in
agree more.
indie.
Yeah.
You do see it in indie.
And Dyrk, we know that you have way cooler people to hang out with than us, and you have some
No,
other
that's
commitments.
not true. Bunch of losers. Now, see, they will never see this because they're not nerdy as I am, but they're nerdy in other ways. So I'm just going to say, see you guys.
Are you gonna go win some
And,
money now?
I hope to. I hope
Yeah.
to go win
Nice.
some money. Poker night tonight. Thank you, everybody. This has been awesome. I wish I could stick around.
Thank you,
pleasure.
Dyrk. Thank
We'll do
you,
it again
man.
soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot.
Bye. Take care.
See ya.
John had a comment. Not an author until that one-star review is anything about something stupid and pointless, like I hated that the hero sits down to pee. Worst book ever.
It's true.
Halo mentions John so true. 1 star, hated the MC's eyebrows.
1 star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to
What
reach
is it
that.
there?
You want to reach that level, you know, like when you can use those 1-star reviews as marketing material, right?
sure.
That's you know, that's when you're immune to it at that point. For me, it still hurts. I have to admit, like, it's not fun seeing a 1-star review. And the logical side of my brain can be like, yeah, but you know, it isn't for everyone, blah blah blah. But I have a heart, and you know, like, it hurts. Something you worked really, really hard on. You put yourself out there, and somebody's like, this sucks. You're like, okay, you know, and you're gonna have a bad day. I'm only human.
I think
sure.
for indies the the ratings are actually much more important because people have to look at the ratings to decide if they want to pick up a book or not. And
Yeah.
if you
they
get
are.
flamed by like countless 1-star reviews of people just trolling, it's just not fun.
Yeah. Thankfully, we don't see a lot of that, right? Thankfully, yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I remember first seeing Sadir. I think it was Mahir put up the cover of yours first, Sadir. And then I would say within the next week, I must have seen that cover 20, 30 times. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay. What is this book? You're not even starting from the review. You're starting from lots of people are reading this and are talking about it. So it's like right now delve into the blurb if you want at that stage. The review comes later because there's not that many of them about. It's nice, when it's only been a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Aaron had a question. Any authors that you feel have influenced you, Joao and Sadir?
You want to go first?
It's very tricky. I feel very easily influenced by writers, especially if I'm reading it a lot at the same time. So something kind of in my brain just starts absorbing what I'm reading and kind of trickling down that into my writing. I would say Joe Abercrombie is 100% one of my main influences. Although I try not to write like him, I wish I did, but I'm not even close to that. Mark Lawrence, I would say. I have some influences of Brendan Sanderson as well, especially when it comes to like the magic systems. I'm a bit of a magic system nerd, and I think the first time I even came across my book is like how can I compare this to anything else out there? I was thinking about the snarkiness and the kind of like the kind of grimdark tones of the Joe Abercrombie books and a bit of the magic systems for Brendan Sanderson. So it's kind of a mesh of the two.
Yeah.
I would say those are probably the strongest influences, but I've also read a lot of really, really good indie books in the past few years. I mentioned earlier the Ash and Sand trilogy by Richard Nell. I think it's one of especially the first one, Kings of Paradise, really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Really, really like strongly in the first time I read it, and and then it just went on from there. I'm also really like Peter McLean, Michael R. Fletcher. Just goes from there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's one of the work hazards of being an author. Like reading other fantasy books can mess with the voice in your head, your writing style. So, unfortunately, I read less fantasy books these days. I read more thrillers. I read more psychological. Not because I don't want anything to come into my brain because it can easily happen, right? And also, so yeah, unfortunately, it comes with the territory. Thank you, Bo. The question was, what were the inspirations? So I'm not very much inspired by other authors. I'm more inspired by like comic books, video games, TV shows, movies. Those are truly my inspiration for creating stories, I'd say. And then I just chose to use like novels and books as the format to tell my stories. But I've heard some people say that my book could easily be like a comic book or stuff like that, and that would be cool one day if someone wants to do that. So yeah, I would probably say those things are my bigger inspirations rather than other authors or other books.
I wondered if you reading thrillers, because comedy is a lot about timing. You have to have the right timing for comedy. Does reading thrillers help you with in that regard of having the kind of the timing to have jokes at certain events?
I think you give me too much credit about having like a thoughtful process. No, the thing is this: when I'm not doing a podcast, and I'm not a bit shy as I am at the moment. Like I am kind of a jokester. I've always been a jokester since I was young. Always getting in trouble in school for talking too much, making the other students laugh, stuff like that. Always like I used to draw weird paintings that people loved. I used to create stories. when I was young that would catch the attention of the other students, so they stopped listening to the teachers. It just took me like 30 years to find that thing was my thing, and I did not have that at all in the first book. My first book was, I would say, like a mixture of just other authors that I loved at that point in time. So it didn't bring anything new or fresh to the table, and that's why the reception was like, yeah, it's okay, but that's not good enough. You're not aiming for okay with when you're making your debut. You want to put yourself out there, and for me, so finding the weirdness in me that have been with me my whole life and putting that on the page was the key. So I don't know, Steve. That's an interesting question, but I think you give me too much credit, to be honest with you.
And Joao, can't wait to hear more about your book and the blurb. I'm a little behind on comments, but yeah.
So I posted the blurb, I think, on Twitter, Instagram, like basically all my socials. I think it's already available. So yeah, you can probably very easily find it. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the characters sound like an interesting. Yeah, they do sound like an interesting bunch. I love the old, worn down characters that are just one more job, one more quest, and then I'm out. Or I love that.
Yeah, I think one of my main ideas, especially in the beginning when I was deciding, okay, like who do I want to make my main 3 characters, and I was so tired at that point of like chosen ones, like teenagers saving the world, and it's like just the stereotypical fantasy characters. And I thought, well, single mothers, I haven't seen any depiction of them. I haven't seen old people being protagonists either. Geriatric chosen ones, if you will, stuff like that. And yeah, I hadn't seen anyone who is like a con man, like actually doing things in a way that's rather smart or dumb at certain stages, but I thought it was an interesting mix of characters.
Yeah. Absolutely.
John mentions, I was sold on the crew thanks to Fazilla Reads. She's such a great book reviewer. Second that. Yeah. Fazilla has a great channel. Everyone should go check out that channel.
Yeah, thank you to Fazilla if she is watching. She did an amazing review for the crew early on her YouTube channel, and I was just smiling my way through the whole thing. She used up so many different memes while she was going through the events of the book, and it matched perfectly. So yeah, she did an amazing job. Hello, Layla.
Hey, Layla.
Hey.
Thank you, John, for the chat. Boss makes $1, I make a dime, so I read the crew on company time.
Nice.
Enjoy.
That's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. And at HC, I feel like the indie community is really tight knit because we all rely on each other to succeed. Readers, reviewers, writers, we all understand the works and passion that goes into what we do. That's very well put.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. We can't do, me and Joao, we can't do what we do. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name, it feels like. Sorry,
no worries.
we can't do what we do without the support of reviewers and bloggers and all of that. Like, honestly, we couldn't do it. No one would know about our stuff. It would just be thrown out into a void, So like, it's so important.
I mean, community is everything in the indie space. I think, like, without community, like without being able to not just reach out to others, but just finding, reviewers and bloggers, like it's just I don't think it just would be possible to reach any kind of heights in terms of visibility.
Yeah.
And I do think we all kind of understand what goes into it, but we all root for each other, even if. We all want each other we all want everyone to succeed. There's no, we all want to lift each other up. So that's good.
For sure.
Yeah, very welcoming community. And Lana's here. What a great lineup. Hey, Lana.
Hey. Hi.
Mihir can attest to Sadir's wacky sense of humor. BristolCon 2002 was a ton of fun thanks to him.
Thank you, Mihir. I'm glad you had a good time.
That looked like a real fun event.
BristolCon is absolutely amazing. I would recommend anyone from our community to try and go at least once. I started going in 2015, I think. that's when I started traveling to England. When I didn't know anyone, actually, I just went by myself. It feels so weird now, but like since I'm based in Sweden, right? So there's no SFF community over here, and I write books in English. So I had to broaden my horizon to get out there. The first couple of trips was super weird because I didn't know anyone. But then you start meeting people and making friends, and BristolCon is an annual thing, and it's usually the same group of people, and then new people come, and it's just the best of times. So, Chris, you're in Ireland, right?
I'm in Northern Ireland. There's actually BristolCon's quite good for me because there are direct flights to Bristol.
Yeah,
for
okay.
me. So actually, it's one of those ones where sometimes you go like Nottingham or something. If something's around there, like right, I have to fly to there,
Yeah,
and then arrange transport. And at that point, I'm like, oh, this is now a hassle. But actually, Bristol,
yeah.
it's fine. There's no real excuse for me, going forward. So
You
I
should
think I'll
come.
probably
You
head
should
over. Yeah,
definitely
for sure.
come next. Yeah, definitely in 2020. And same
I
thing.
went last year, but I think it was still a bit weird because of COVID and it's like people
Oh,
masking
yeah.
up and stuff like that. So it was like you. Like I went there by myself. I didn't know anybody at the time, and I didn't even have a book out. Like it wasn't even close to being out. So it's like it's always a bit like who's this guy?
Yeah, that's
but,
definitely
yeah.
No, I had the same. Unfortunately, I missed last year because of COVID. Right, I think the restrictions were still in place. So yeah, the trip I made this October was the first one since 2019. But otherwise, like I go every year, at least once or twice to the UK. To attend different cons and stuff because it's so much fun and meeting up with everyone and eating a full English breakfast. That's really important. It's more important to eat the full English breakfast than it is to meet the friends.
Definitely the lesser of the Irish breakfast. I have to say, there's a very this beans thing is not. It just doesn't sit well with me.
Oh, really?
Irish
Okay.
breakfast, right?
I did try the Irish version when we went to Dublin as well. You had the what's it called? The blood.
Oh yes, the black pudding, white
Black
pudding, which
pudding.
sometimes gets put on English breakfast as well. But
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
say the Irish one's a lot meat and bread. It's very meat and bread.
Yeah. We eat the black pudding here in Sweden, so I like it. But I know that for some people it's weird, but I do like it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
fried breakfasts in general are just great. So they're they're just
yeah, absolutely
very hard to pass up.
So what's the difference between an English breakfast and a Scottish breakfast? What's the
An Irish breakfast? Well, the English breakfast, I mean, you can just put it very simply as beans, but an English breakfast can sometimes have chips. It can have, it usually has a bit more vegetable on it. So they might have the like fried mushrooms or tomato on it, where the Irish breakfast is very much potato bread, soda bread, two types of bread that you don't find anywhere else in the world.
Soda bread is delicious. Just saying. Soda bread
it's very patty kind of bread, so it kind of soaks up a lot of the juices of stuff, especially egg yolks. It's great for dipping egg yolks into. And then you have your sausage, bacon, and vegetable roll, which I don't think you get anywhere else. Now you don't always get it here either, but it's like a very like sausage meat with onions. It's very spicy. It's real nice. Oh God, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I got hungry too now.
Now this conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm hungry too. Yeah.
I would eat the full English breakfast every day if I could, and then I would die at age 50 probably. But like maybe worth it.
Maybe worth it. Bo commented, "We need that meme gift to be of Dyrk saying I'm a dick and Sadir saying I don't want crack."
I would agree with that.
Oh boy.
John commented, "Indie fantasy has brought me back to the genre after years of stagnation with the Trad Pub offerings. Hands down, my favorite book this year has been Seventh Cadence by Jim Wilborn."
Okay.
Love it as well. Yeah, John. John, when I finished reading it and I looked to see who else had reviewed it, John's was the review that I found as well. And kind of went, yeah.
Jim seems like a great guy.
Very cool guy. Yeah.
And hey, Austin, glad you can make it.
Hey, Austin.
You're late again, Austin. What's happening? You need to sort your schedule out here,
Priorities, Austin. Priorities. And Joao, did we get? Did you mention the title of your book? Have you, or is it too early?
Yeah, no. The title is called Seeds of War. So it's I think it's a bit of a I wouldn't say a pun, but it's like has a tie-in to something that happens in the book.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't want to say too much about it, but it's. I mean, I wanted something that's fairly simple for people to remember, but also tied to the book, something that's meaningful within the book, and that kind of depicts the vibe essentially. So it's kind of like something's brewing, right? Like something.
Yeah.
There's a big war in the horizon, and I kind of wanted to find the title that encompasses all of that.
Yeah.
If you could go back and give yourself one tip from before you started writing, but you know now that you didn't know then, what would you tell yourself?
I think is that I didn't have to listen to beta readers as much as I thought I did in the beginning. I think when I first started writing this book, which was almost 3 years ago actually now, and I was still very insecure as a writer at that point. And I didn't realize that there's so many people out there with an aversion to like darker fantasy. I think a lot of people seek out hero stories and people who are like the good guys, and they want to see, heroes winning versus the big bad people and stuff like that. And that's just not what I do, and just not what I write. And I didn't realize how much taste is a factor when it comes to people beta reading. So a lot of the comments that are critical end up being related not to technical stuff. It's just more about their personal taste and their personal preferences. And I think a lot of them didn't realize that they were letting their tastes dictate that. And I was trusting them as beta readers, and then until I found an actual community of people that I could trust. They read the same genre, they like the same kind of books, so I know that their feedback, when negative, it's actually genuine, and I can actually see exactly what they mean. And that's something that took me so long to get right. So I think that's what I would change is like, just you don't have to listen to these people. Also, kind of what Dyrk was saying earlier is like just do what you want. Just stick to your own voice. Don't try to please anyone. Just try to write the book that you want from the beginning.
Yeah. It is really hard to find the right group of beta readers. It's not easy, definitely, because it is so subjective, right? So like you need to have people that will like what you write, and then can give you the correct type of feedback that you're looking for. It's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy.
I would say from my first round of I think I had 12 in my first round, because I was already thinking that a lot of them would flake and they wouldn't finish, and I was right about that, but except 90% of them flaked. So I had one that completed the book, and everybody else was just like, I can't read it, it's too dark, and it's like I don't like it, stuff like that.
How did you find them?
I think that was the problem, because I was looking at Facebook. I wasn't on Twitter at that point.
Okay.
But then once I moved to Twitter, and I found a much more dedicated community on Twitter and Instagram, and it just opened up everything completely. I mean, I found really, really good beta readers on Instagram and Twitter. And I think once this book is out, I'm gonna rely on my existing readers to become beta readers for the second one.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to do the same. A couple of them already have shown an interest to beta read the next book. So that's definitely one of the advantages, like after you release the first book, that you will get people that like what you do, and then they can help you with the next book. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're volunteering to be beta readers, it's because they actually like it. So they will tell you if there's something that they don't like and that doesn't match their impression. So I think it's a very, very solid approach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does the beta reading come after the editor usually? Is that how it?
I think different people do it different ways. Maybe Sadir can just explain. But in my perception, I think people do it. There's no one set way of doing it.
Yeah.
The way I did it, I did 2 or 3 rounds of edits, self edits, until I was like, okay, is this something that I'm happy to show people, or is it something that's still kind of garbage and I can't really show anyone yet?
Yeah.
And I ended up showing it to people after I think it was the 3rd draft. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there aren't any real rules to that. I also do a first draft that is mainly me telling myself the story, and then I do a second draft where I makes it look like I knew what I was doing the whole time. Uh, and then the third draft is the one sent to beta readers, and that's cleaned up a bit. And then after you get the comments from the beta readers, I make a new draft and incorporate those changes. And after that, the editor gets involved. So that's
Yeah,
that's
same
the
for
way I
me.
do it. So we sound like we do it the same, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the same for me as well.
Mm.
I can see myself wanting to beta read a book I hadn't or a series I hadn't read, but by the time I've read the first book, I don't want to beta read it anymore. I think I definitely just want to kind of enjoy it in my own time then after it if it's a series that I like.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing that is good with beta readers is like especially like if you find like aspiring authors and they want to see how the sausage is made, so to speak, getting involved in that process to see, not the final product and get some confidence maybe that okay, the books aren't that good in that stage and it's fine and it's okay, you know what I mean? So it's a good opportunity, I would say, for aspiring authors to try and beta read something for someone else because that will help them develop their craft as well.
And maybe get over that feeling that Joao was talking about of that kind of unsure kind of what I should be doing at one stage or where I should be, or that kind of confidence building for yourself to say actually, as in most things in life, people are all the same. The person that seems super confident actually isn't always confident or wasn't always confident, that kind of thing,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the things that really gave me confidence and told me that this is actually publishable and I can actually do something with this was the fact that one of my beta readers was reviewer, and they were very kind to just volunteer to be beta readers, and they did a very good job, and they spotted a bunch of things there I still needed to fix, but they also gave very, very encouraging feedback. And I had been following their reviews for a while at that point, and I knew that okay, so if they like this book, and they also say that they like mine, so it's kind of like maybe I have something here. And that was actually I needed that for confidence, like at that point.
Yeah, those things are really important.
Lana, she wants you to bottle your spices up.
That's amazing.
Oh, Lana.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
A triple S scandal.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Batter is my favorite. Thank you for writing this book.
Thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you.
John, to quote Macho Man Randy Savage, the cream always rises to the top.
Disappointed you didn't do the voice.
Oh,
do the voice.
I'll lose my voice if I do. I'll do. We'll have a rain check though. Joseph comments. Even if I tried it, I'll lose my voice. What's the best road for a new indie author to convince the reviewing blogging community that their books are worth looking at? That's a great question.
I don't know if I have the answer to that because I haven't been able to convince anyone because I don't have arcs yet. So, yeah.
What's the best road?
Sign me up.
Yeah, just ask. I mean, I think that's pretty much the best thing that anybody can say. It'll be a bit just trying to think, right? Yeah. Okay, this looks cool. This looks interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes in steps based on how I did it. So, everyone has talked about how important covers are. That is usually the first thing that you reveal about your book, or you reveal the blurb, what the book is about, right? So you need to hook people at different stages. First, you want to be like, look at this cover. Does it look interesting? And the people are like, okay, I'm interested. Okay, what's the blurb? And then if you got a good blurb, then like, okay, I'm interested. So then when you come to the third stage of sending out arcs to people, they're already on board. So you need to do it not necessarily in that order, but you need to do it, I think, more than once. You can't just, does anyone want to read this book? You need to have something that has enticed them to have an interest in it, and you can choose what you think will be the strong factor for your book. Yeah. I see now it's Joe that's asking that
Yeah,
question.
that's-
He knows the answer to this.
No, he's asking for a friend.
Oh, okay. I'm like, people love his book. I see people talking about his books all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I see his books on social media pretty much every day.
Yeah.
It's
Me
crazy.
too.
Crazy how prevalent that cover is. And then this one person comes along and says, this book is actually completely awesome. You're like, right, well,
Yeah.
that's all. One review is all you need to do to kind
Yeah.
of put it all together.
It's very high on my TBR list for sure, because as you can see behind me, I love superhero stuff, and I'm kind of jealous that Joe found a way to do that successfully. So yeah, kudos to him.
Yeah, we were tossing around the idea of having like a reviewer list, some like a compilation of reviewer like a different criteria. Have them fill out like a Google sheet, and then have compile all the data and have like a spreadsheet on our forum. So we're working on that. Well, I'm working on that, but
Okay.
put it together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea.
Sounds good, yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie had a question. Sadir, what's on your top white shelf?
Let's see. Can you guys see?
Man.
Oh, that's Berserk, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's nice.
We got Guts and we got Magneto standing next to each
Well,
other.
just look what arrived today.
Oh, yeah.
I actually have read the first 2 volumes in Kindle, and I thought, right, okay.
Okay.
Steve was talking about it in the forums.
I
Does
love
that mean? Does that
Yeah.
mean you're reading with me?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, that's awesome. Whenever I want to completely shatter my confidence as a storyteller, I'll read Berserk, and then I don't want to write or do anything because, like, to me, oh my god, I love Berserk so much, and Guts is probably my favorite main character of all time. The shit
Wow.
that character goes through. I've never seen anything like it ever, and I don't think we ever will. So, yeah, there are those things that sometimes they're just so good that it just breaks your confidence completely. In your own ability. Berserk is that for me. I love it.
Well, I'm sure we'll be having discussions for it at some point. So feel free to join us. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Be awesome.
Our friend PL's here. Hey, I'll
Hey,
drop in and say hi to the amazing group.
Hello.
One of the best things about Fridays, thank you, PL. Have a great chat, gentlemen, and big hello to my page between peeps, Steve. Thanks for coming by, PL.
Nice.
Hello, the nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Yeah, he seems like such. I was just gonna say, he seems like such a nice guy. Yeah.
Just the most genuine, caring, kind person. He's a fantastic person. Eddie had a question. As new authors, do you care about the editing process, or do you like to do it yourself, or both?
Oh, definitely both. Like you definitely need an editor. I wouldn't recommend anyone to publish a book ever without having an editor. But you need to learn the editing skills yourself as well. And if I could just mention this because it bothers me quite a bit. Everybody talks about how Brandon Sanderson wrote 13 books before his first book was published, right? I'm sure you guys have heard this.
Yeah,
What they don't mention is that Brandon Sanderson hated editing. So he just finished the draft and then he didn't want to edit it, so he went on to the next one, So like for 13 books or whatever, he didn't invest in picking up that vital skill that you need. You can't write without editing. So it's immensely important, and then you need the extra eyes and skills to come in at a later stage to help you, because at that point you become blind. It's so many pages, so many words. It's all you're too close to it. You need the assistance. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's basically a recipe for disaster not having an editor, because as good as you think you are at editing your own stuff, you're never as good as a qualified, legit editor who knows what they're doing and has been doing it every day for years and years and years.
Yeah,
I can guarantee that. And I think that's actually pretty evident in just I had one of my recent short stories edited just like this week, and I thought the story was really solid. I was like super confident about the story, and the edits are just like so extensive on every single page, and it just made the story so much better. And I was just blown away by it. So I think editing is just crucial in every
Yeah.
possible way.
It really is. Yeah. I just want to give a shout out to Sarah Chorn. She was the editor I worked with for the crew, and I'm gonna work with her on the next book. And
She's also
for
editing mine as well.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So she's
She's
excellent.
great.
Highly recommended.
Not only is she an excellent editor, she's an awesome author too.
Yes,
I
she
loved
is.
Seraphina's Lament, one of my
Yeah.
favorites of this last year. Yeah.
I talked with her yesterday, and I called her the breaker of hearts. That's her. Like she breaks, she breaks people. You know.
Yeah.
With we talked about different styles. You know, finding your author voice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so we joked around that I'm the weird guy, and she's the breaker of hearts. We're building our own superhero team.
Nice. Eddie commented, Joao, read a Dead Man yesterday. Loved it. Liked the way you think.
Thank you. Thanks. That's very nice. That Dead Man, just for those who don't know, it's the short story that I offer for those who sign up to my mailing list.
Yeah.
It's quite a short story. I think it's only like 2,000 to 3,000 words. Yeah.
Did you write that? Did you write that before the novel or after?
After.
After. And is it like a Is it like a prequel thingy?
Not yet. So I have a prequel planned as well.
Oh, okay.
But this one is it's kind of adjacent. So I wouldn't say it's the same timeline and the same. It's quite different. It's a very much more of a character exploration than the full-fledged story. It's not really about the same characters in the same world, and it is the same world, but it's not really about the world. Yeah.
Okay. So you can read it before or after the novel.
Yeah, you can read it. Yeah, you can. There's. So that's one of the things I wanted to do is like I didn't want to put anything out that people needed to read before they need to read other stuff. Like I want everything I write to be almost like a standalone in a way. Like even the Seeds of War, I think. It's still really important to me that it's satisfying in its own, even though it's the first in the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've committed the cardinal sin of not offering my subscribers anything for signing up to my to my newsletter. I don't have a prequel story because I couldn't find anything that I felt would fit. You know, I want the crew to be the first thing that they read of mine. Yeah, and I think that will tell them if they like it or not. I couldn't find a way in, you know, like having a prequel or having like a side story or anything. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can always add it later if you want. If you don't want, I think that's fine as well.
Yeah. But it's good for drawing in subscribers, right, to your newsletter and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
you
I can't say that I've had a lot so far, but I think it's definitely been enough to have a few. Like,
but I mean, I saw Eddie's tweet about it today or yesterday. I mean, just getting the buzz going, you know, at this stage because you've put something out there. That's a good move.
Yeah, that's basically the reason I did it. I just want to get my name out there while people wait for Seeds of War.
Yeah, you're doing well, man.
Thanks.
And with all the kind of social media, it could a platform can disappear tomorrow. So having a newsletter or having a mailing list is very, very important.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen the shit show that's been going on at Twitter. So.
Oh man, try not to look.
Yeah, I'm trying to use it less and less lately. Yeah.
No, don't. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going in. I'm not going anywhere from Twitter. I'll be like the orchestra on the Titanic as the ship sinks. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I'll check in like once a day or so, but that's about as much as I'll do now.
Yeah.
Bo had a question. Hey Sadir, how does one become your beta reader for the sequel? Asking for a friend.
You have the first name Bo and the surname Kelly.
And Eddie's he's volunteering.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Fantastic. Eddie's great.
That's awesome. Thanks, Eddie.
Magneto versus Xavier is all over your book.
Is it?
Interesting.
That is interesting. That isn't the connection I would make straight away. Can you develop that? Can you? Magnetics all over.
But it has me intrigued. You see now, because
that
if
has
he's
me
if
intrigued
he
as
if
well.
he's saying yes and you're saying no, then that's the inquisitive part of my brain that goes, right, but I have to read this book like immediately.
Okay.
To kind of go. It's
Yeah.
nearly a better thing than the blurb to kind of disagree and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, you seen that?" And,
That's
to see
interesting.
which side of the argument you fall on.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And chilled milk and honey.
Yeah. The main character. That's the main character's favorite drink. He orders one from. I think it's the first or second sentence in the book, and apparently that is some kind of drink that Eddie is very familiar with, where he lives in the States or something. It has its roots from Latin America or something. So he laughed a lot. He laughed a lot when he found that. I didn't know that, so it was cool.
Nice. And I see all the X-Men books in your shelves. What's your favorite X-Men arc?
Oh,
Putting you on the spot here.
Yeah. God damn it.
I got you. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'll go with something a bit out of left field, but I'm a really big fan of the Age of Apocalypse arc. I know that some people don't like it, but I like it. Yeah. But I mean, yeah. I love all of it. I love all of it.
A lot of omnibus behind you.
Yes.
Every now and then, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. That's a good choice.
What is your choice?
I was thinking as I was asking you. I think
Mutant
I'd have to.
Massacre?
I think I might have to go with something Claremont.
Yeah, for
Because,
sure. Okay, no,
maybe-
not for sure, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe Dark Phoenix or that's the first thing that comes to my mind is Dark Phoenix. Or I was a big. I haven't reread a lot of those arcs now, but when I was like 13, Extinction Agenda was really good. When it had all the big crossover, that was really fun.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
That's some straight up 90s right there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
so, you know, you go back and read some of that stuff, like the 90s, and it's like it's pretty bad.
Yeah, but I mean, you still have the nostalgia factor, right?
Yeah.
That is like if you have a core memory tied to those things, you know, that's why I collect these. They make me happy, right? I know that I can read better comics, but they remind me of that time in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, have that nostalgia. But sometimes you go back and it's like, where are their feet, or why do they have so many pockets? You know.
Very interesting artistic choices.
Yeah.
Really fun time in comics, though.
I was going to say important, though, because they obviously kept you reading comics. You know what I mean? If you didn't have those stories at those time, regardless of how much maligned you think they are now, they were part of your process and your journey, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely.
And Joao, were you a comic book reader when you were younger, or even now?
Not really. I think my parents were a bit prejudiced against comics, and they were like, "Well, if you want to read books." So it was always a question of, what book do you want? How can we get you to read more? So I read a bunch of. I read a lot of fantasy, but I grew up in Portugal, so we didn't really have a very thriving selection of fantasy and sci-fi books growing up. I think it's getting much better now, to be fair. But growing up, it wasn't a thing. So we had a lot of Lord of the Rings, so I devoured that probably like 3 times back to back. You know, pairing it up with the movies and everything. As a kid, I also really liked Aragon, but now I see a lot of the issues that people find later on. Yeah, but no, comics, I didn't really read a lot of comics. I think I like graphic novels, I think, more now. I appreciate them more, but I usually go for the more independent ones. And it's not something I read all the time.
Yeah, I don't read any modern Marvel or DC. I read the stuff from the 80s, 70s, 60s, 90s, 2000, and that's kind of where I draw the line. When it comes to the 2 big publishers, right? Then you need to, after that point, the indie wave of Robert Kirkman and a bunch of other really innovative authors created cool comic books, The Walking Dead and all of that stuff. Yeah.
I would say for me the exception would be V for Vendetta. I think it was a a comic that I picked up when I was probably in a very interesting age. Like I was like 15 or 16,
Mm.
and I was just starting to form all my ideas of like morality and like
Mm.
like justice and things like that. And I think it was a very formative read for me.
Yeah.
V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan Moore is he might be my favorite author of all time, like regardless of medium, to be honest with you. Yeah. Watchmen was that for me. Yeah, he's excellent. I love all of
Very,
them.
very
Yeah.
solid choice. That, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And also
Watchmen.
he's a crazy guy.
Oh yeah, he's insane, but he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little off his rocker, but he's great. Really great
Oh
stuff.
wow, yeah.
But
Swamp
there's some-
Thing. We need to mention Swamp Thing.
I haven't read that arc yet.
Yeah.
I do
Okay.
need to. Yeah. I
Okay.
need to read it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of these days I'll get to it.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's like Image has some great. They're pumping out great stuff.
Oh yeah.
Even like stuff that Grant Morrison does, or
Mhm.
like Nameless. I don't know if you guys have read Nameless.
Name?
I think it's Morrison. It's
Okay.
it was like a 4-issue series. It's
Okay.
bonkers. It's just crazy, but it's brilliant.
I'm a
It's
bit
really good.
tired of Morrison, to be honest with you. I've had my full fill of Morrison for a while now. I need to step away for a bit.
Nice.
But I love some of his stuff, but sometimes he goes way out there in a way that I don't know. I lose interest a bit.
Or even like I think the last like DC Marvel thing I was into is like Blackest Night. That was pretty good.
Okay, yeah, Jeff
But
Johns.
that was
Yeah.
about the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Did any of you read manga growing up, or like even now?
Bits, well, aside from just having Berserk beside me, but my son's very into manga at the moment and has that churning through and looking at the bookshelf in the bookstore and kind of going, I just need all of them. It's just I just think the return of money for manga is the problem where I have, where you buy something and you burn through it within
Yep.
minutes, what feels like. But yeah. I seem to draw over the art in like an Image comic or a Vertigo or something much more than I would say in a manga.
Yeah, Berserk will be my first manga. It'll be my first
Okay.
one. Yeah.
All right. Oh, that's cool. No, I started reading manga at probably when I was around 10 years old or something. Naruto, One Piece,
Death Note I did.
Fist of the North Star. I'm forgetting now, but yeah, I started basically comics and manga went side by side for me. But then I started watching anime when I became like 13 years old or something, and I saw the movie Fist of the North Star, and that completely blew my mind because it was the most violent thing that I had ever seen.
Is it worse than Dragon Ball Z?
Oh yeah, they're not even comparable, man.
Okay.
Yeah, watching Fist of the North Star at age like 11 or 12, it was like wow, yeah, amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
George commented, Steve will always have a meeting place
George.
for us all. Yeah. Come on by. Come on by the forums. Joseph commented, original Dark Phoenix saga has never been beaten. Fight me.
I don't want to fight you, Joe.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll just nod and agree.
Yeah. I would probably.
Sure.
I mean, what's it called? God Hates, Man Kills. You remember that story arc? Chris
I
Claremont's.
I don't think so.
What? You don't?
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, God Hates, Man Kills, or something like that. It was the first time like they really made it political, like a president candidate going after mutants, and it was really like drawing back to the civil unrest in the 60s and 70s in the US, and like elevated, the storyline to new heights, I would say. I think it's called God Hates, Man
Yeah,
Kills.
it's God Loves, Man Kills.
Ah, there we have it. Yeah.
Adding that to the list.
Yeah. That still holds up. Today.
Nice. Helena's here. The Walking Dead comics are amazing. Yeah, they were really good. Much better than the TV show. Don't get me started on that.
I never finished watching the TV show, but I kind of
No.
want to go back and watch it.
Oh,
Isn't
like
it worth
the
it?
TV show? I feel like the TV show, it's always like starts with a banger and then
Mhm.
nothing happens for 45 minutes, and then in the last 5 minutes they give you a hook for you to watch the next one.
The problem is I stopped watching it before Negan joined, and I
Yes,
really
aye.
want, because I love that character and I want to see how they portrayed him in the TV show. Wasn't it good? It's not good.
I stopped just at the end of the prison because the prison to me on the screen was just nowhere near as effective as it was on the page. And I was like, right, okay, I think I'm probably out of this.
Yeah, I think it did this around season 4 or 5, right?
Around that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think what happened with that series is what happens with most series that were really blow up like that is they take a story that should be this big and then they stretch it out to be this big because they they want to keep it going as long as they can.
But it also has that old format of TV shows, right? With 24 episodes or something per season,
that's right.
because that's stretched out over the whole year. Yeah, that does, like, people are way past that now. Like, it doesn't work anymore.
Helena had a question. What's the best to start with manga?
It depends on taste, right? I think
Yeah,
if it's I think when I started as a teen, I started with Naruto and Bleach, but I think other people started with different stuff, depending on age and taste and things like that.
Yeah, the thing with manga, it's so broad. Like, it's so crazy how many different subgenres and different styles, and they're so innovative as well. I'm sure that whatever you're interested in, you can find a manga that suits that taste, I would say, for sure.
I would do the classic thing, which is find an anime, watch a couple of episodes of the anime, and see if the general tone and feel of it. Because, as you said, Sadir, some of them are so violent. That maybe that's the thing that completely turns you off.
Yeah.
About it, and there's quite a lot of them. So it's definitely something that I think the genre revels in some places.
Yeah.
That kind of goes to something that might be very palatable for some, like Demon Slayer, or something. That even a modern kind of one other people might be like, no.
Yeah,
that's gruesome.
Yeah.
I quite like Demon Slayer. I would say if people looking for modern suggestions, I would say that's a good one.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it or read it, so I don't know. But people seem to love it.
Yeah.
Is that the one with the boar character?
Yeah. That's him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Eddie had a question. Have you guys read the Red Rising Sun of Ares? I have not.
Not for me either.
Well, I don't know what that is.
That's about I think, is that some sort of prequel about the origins of the Son of Ares? I think that's the.
Is it a manga or comic book or what is it?
Yeah, I think so.
It is a six-issue comic book series published by Dynamite Entertainment in 2017.
I haven't heard of that.
It's a prequel to the Red Rising science fiction series by Pierce Brown.
Oh yeah, I remember now that they did some sort of comic book tied to the series. Yeah, no, I haven't read it.
Joseph comment, Naruto is my jam. Don't reread The Fist of North Star. It will hurt your soul. Berserk is amazing.
Played that.
I almost want to go out and grab I'm collecting the Fist of the North Star volumes because they're publishing them now in hardcover. So I have them on my shelf. I don't plan to read them, but I love them. Like, I know how bad they are. I know how bad they are. But just seeing the covers, and they're like 80s masculinity, toxic masculinity, I would probably add. It's just fun. It brings back so many memories for me. Yeah. But don't worry, Joe. I don't plan on rereading it.
Thanks, Joseph. Added both to my TBR. And I think we'll be starting Berserk January next month sometime. I don't know.
You tell me, Steve. Let's just
soon.
What's another book to add to my pile?
What's another book?
I'm just gonna say with Berserk, you probably heard this, right? But it starts off a bit rough. So just keep that in mind. I think the series started like back in 87 or 86 or something, and the author really grows. So reach the golden age arc. You probably heard some people say that before. Yeah. and you will experience something that is quite unique. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, so thank you for the advice.
Yeah.
Jordan, comment. My favorite manga is anime. My favorite manga and anime is Death Note.
I love Death Note.
Death
I
Note
actually
blew
have the
my mind.
first 2 volumes over there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't read it or watched it. I don't know why.
It blew my mind, and I actually think the most angry I ever was as a younger person was when a certain character was killed off in that series. I was like,
No.
you can't do that.
Yeah, that was the down point for the whole
Yeah.
manga for me.
Yeah,
Does-
for me
does
too.
Does it still hold up today if I would read it or watch it?
I would
Yeah,
say so.
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I do think so. I actually went back and reread the first kind of 3 issues of it
Mhm.
not that long ago and went, yeah, okay, because it was kind of proofreading it for my son at the time.
Oh,
going,
okay, yeah.
This because they were looking at a good place to start. You know that I had, and I had a couple of issues sitting there, and I went, yeah, go for that. But like
Yeah.
like Joao says, like when that happens, I don't know. I was like,
Yeah.
you just ruined the best part of the entire series
Yeah.
for me. Oh man.
Yeah.
I often find myself using a GIF from Death Note. You know, when he's writing fast.
Mhm.
You know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used that so many times when it comes to writing stuff, but I've never seen the show.
Yeah.
It is a
I
great
think when
anti. Sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Joao.
I was just saying that when that character died, it could have been a very interesting turning point.
Yeah.
But it could have been like actually real like next level. But they just took it into a direction that I don't think it made much sense. It kind of ruined it.
They threw away what I don't know. Let's not go into it. Let's do it someday. Let's talk about it someday because it
Yes,
hurts.
let's do that.
Yeah.
So time always flies doing these, but I always like to ask all the guests one question in particular. But Sadir, if you want to start us off, what was your first job?
My first job was because I've seen the show before, so I've thought about this.
You're ready.
I've thought about
Okay.
this before, right?
All right.
So my first job, which isn't as fun, is I worked as a dishwasher at a restaurant. But my second job was as a bouncer, which was made more fun and more. I have more exciting stories from that job than I did from washing dishes.
Please tell us about one.
No, I mean they're not that exciting. It's just that my friend's brother owned a club, and I looked older than I was, and he needed someone at the door. So he brought me on to be a bouncer, and you end up in interesting situations when people are drunk and misbehave, and you have to get a bit rough at times. But yeah, that was fun. I was way too young to do it, though. That was the most fun part.
How long did it take you to get comfortable with having to put your hands on people or having to be kind of exert yourself or kind of have that presence? How hard was that to get into it?
Without getting too deep into a completely unrelated subject, but I wasn't unfamiliar with that sort of lifestyle before I had that job. Growing up as an immigrant in Sweden, I knew violence early on the streets.
Right.
So it was part of probably why I got the job, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think that played a factor. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
And Joao, what about you? What was your first job, and what can you tell us about it?
My first job was as a journalist back in Portugal. So I worked as a sports broadcast journalist for the kind of like the Portuguese equivalent of the BBC, which is it's called RTP. I was only there for a year, and it was basically internship. But I got to do actually a lot of fun stuff. I went to the London Olympics, and so I did a lot of fun stuff with the job. It's actually interesting because the sports journalism community is actually very tight knit. It reminds me a lot of the indie scene in fantasy. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of fun stories to tell about it, but it is fun.
That's a really cool job, though, to have as your first thing, to be a journalist. Yeah,
Wow.
my father is a journalist. Was a journalist.
Oh, nice.
Retired journalist, whatever you call it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
It's an interesting career choice. It's not one that's known for wealth of any kind, which I think is why a lot of people jump out when they reach a certain age. It's like you can't make enough money, so we just jump off. But yeah.
And I don't want to put you in the spot because I know, it's when you have your book coming out, you don't want to promise anything, but when can we expect some updates, or for those of us waiting for your book, what's your plan? When can we expect to hear some news or some updates?
Yeah, so I'm planning to slow feed news and updates to people pretty much so that I can always have something every week, pretty much. In a non-committal way, but pretty much every week I have something new, even if it's just like, here, look at the map, or look at the bookmarks that I made and stuff like that. I'm planning to do a cover reveal probably in a month's time. So I want to come back from Christmas with my parents and have a kind of a chill way in getting into 2023 in a relaxed way. And then I'm going to do a cover reveal. I already have some plans for that.
Nice.
And the book and the pre-order should not be too far away from that. So I'm thinking mid-January. And and then the book, if everything goes right, should be early 2023. I don't want to give specific dates, but early 2023.
Cool.
Do you have the cover? Is the cover done already? You're just sitting on it?
Yeah, it's done. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, that's amazing.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
How hard is that to not just want to tell everyone about it? Is that tough?
It is. But it also, I know that I need to limit myself and just kind of keep it quiet because I know that it's going to be a big factor. I think usually the cover, like Samir was saying, or Sadir was saying earlier, if the cover is one of the main things that draw people in, I want to kind of tie that with opening up the pre-orders. So like if I put out the cover, then people will click on the pre-order button, hopefully. So
yeah. I think that's what I did. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, definitely the pre-order was closely related to when I did the cover reveal. So yeah, you have to be strategic about these things.
Yeah, I have a schedule kind of. I mean, it's not super fixed, but I have a schedule that I need to kind of stick to if I want things to go a certain way. Yeah.
Are you planning to enter? Sorry, are you planning to enter the SPFBO next year then?
I definitely am. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main reasons why I decided early 2023 is probably the best time, so that I can still run for the 2023 edition.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll also be doing that, so it's fun. We can have anxiety together about it.
Sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, it's always better to share with somebody else.
Yeah, I know a couple of other authors is also joining, so we can have like our therapy sessions or something.
Sounds good. Yeah. Sign me up immediately.
Have a support group.
Yeah.
And, Eddie had a question. Who was the winner of the map giveaway?
I haven't actually selected the random winner yet. So like I've closed the giveaway, but I haven't done the random selector. So I will inform the winner. I think Eddie has probably a good chance of getting it if that's what he's asking about.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I missed that one. So Sadir, where can people find you if they want to connect with you, find your book, learn more about you? Where can they sign up for your newsletter?
My website, just sadirsamir.com, is probably the easiest way, or just Google my name and you will find me and my socials and stuff. But yeah, the website, I'd probably say.
Congrats on the crew. It's done. It's everywhere. Everyone loves it. So congrats on the success of it.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm humbled and beyond happy with the reception. For sure. Yeah.
And Joao, where can people find out more about you, connect with you? Where's the best place to find you?
Hopefully everywhere. So I've been trying to be present pretty much anywhere there's SFF fans. I know that the website is still kind of my main hub. It kind of ties to everything I'm doing, and people always recommend you should name your website as like your draw people in there, and they can go from there. And so yeah, you can check my website, but I'm also Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole shebang.
Do you do TikTok as well?
I do, yeah. I mean, I don't
Okay,
dance or
wow.
anything like that, but
Oh, I
Wow.
should dance.
yeah, I mean, maybe that's planned for the next videos. But yeah, I'm not planning on doing any dances or anything like that. But I mean, people say you also should be on TikTok, so I've been trying to listen to people and just doing some wacky video editing with just some flat images and stuff like that.
I mean, if you can have fun with it, then why not? I just feel that I can't get into Instagram or TikTok at this stage in my life. I'm too old. I don't have the energy or the time. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, but that's gonna have to be it. I can't.
It's
Yeah,
they're
that's fair
very
enough.
time consuming.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Very time
It can be a massive drain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Chris, where can people find you and contact
I
you?
mean, I'm gonna have to make a video sometime soon. Like, dear God, it's been nearly a month. But once I do, it'll be on my YouTube channel, which is just at my name, or on Twitter at 7:00 Shadow.
Nice.
Cool.
Thanks to all of you for hanging out tonight. I really appreciate you taking I know you're busy, have books to read and things to do, so thanks for hanging out and just kind of shooting the breeze.
Thank you guys. It's been absolutely awesome. Thanks for the invite. Thank you for everything that you guys do as well. And Joao, lovely to meet you in person as well. Yeah, this was so much fun, man.
Yeah, same. Thanks very much, Steve and Chris and Sadir. It's lovely meeting you all, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Let's do it again soon.
For sure.
Thanks
Absolutely,
yeah. Thanks everyone in the chat for hanging out with us, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.